Well, here we are yet again at the KBMP meeting. Let me get my screen started here. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for coming here today. We have a lot on our plate as usual, so I just want to thank everyone for attending, trying to manage everything at the very start of the meeting and then get the talk prepared. Obviously gives a little bit of a challenge here. I'm just going to check the chat. Can someone chat if you were seeing slides? Great. All right. Thanks for replying there. Quick response. Well, welcome. We are here at the Klamath Basin Monitoring Program's Spring 2022 meeting, yet again, spatially distanced. My name is Randy Turner. I am an environmental scientist with the San Francisco Estuary Institute and also the KBMP coordinator. So I want to welcome you once again to what should be another fabulous KBMP meeting. Okay, so I usually like to start off by talking a little bit about us as an organization. We have a mission and vision statement that have been developed over the years, and you know, in a nutshell, we are here to talk, generally speaking, about water quality through the monitoring and research that's done by so many of our partners throughout the Klamath Basin, and we're here to help kind of provide that technical support and guidance for those monitoring activities and promote sharing of high quality data to inform resource management. And then in that, at the very end of the vision statement, the piece that I like is with the ultimate goal of restoring water quality. So there are a lot of challenges to that within the Klamath Basin, you know, a lot of impairments of water quality, and you know, we have a long way to go. And with that emphasis on water quality, you know, I can't help but, you know, tie in the other natural resource issues that many of you are also trying to solve related to fisheries and habitat restoration. These things are very closely connected. So while we are focused on water quality, we're talking today about a lot of other topics as well. In terms of the Klamath Basin Monitoring Program's background, we are a stakeholder group. Everything is voluntary. And in terms of staff, I have about half my time to be the coordinator for KBMP. So we rely on the steering committee for some of the roles of what we do, of which there are 17 member organizations on the steering committee, each of which has a representative or a rep and an alternate rep. And I want to thank them for their leadership and support over the years to keep KBMP alive. Right now, we have funding through July of next year, thanks to Caltrans, and we'll be looking for some additional funding opportunities, both hopefully through Caltrans in future, but also through other organizations to help, you know, keep this coordinated monitoring effort afloat through, you know, what are going to be some changing times should dam removal occur. In terms of some of the, you know, the big activities we have going on in the next year, you know, we will continue to host our meetings twice a year to talk about the latest science and research in the basin, so we can all be better informed and understand what else is happening. And you know, besides that information that we share, you know, through our meetings, we're also there on our website, you know, promoting that information sharing, the data sharing. If you have a report that your organization has put out, please send it to me, or send it to a steering committee member so we can get it posted to the website. If there's other ways that we can help with information sharing, getting the word out about a meeting, getting something out to the larger group, please get in touch with us. As a stakeholder group, we rely on you to get that information out to us, and then we can help distribute it more broadly. So that's anytime you have something, please send it along. We also are out here to help data get more public. So if you have data that can get into a public database, let us know, and we will see what we can do to help you get that data organized and uploaded, so it can be shared. As part of kind of that effort, we are helping to get some of the data from the Klamath Hydroelectric Settlement Agreement into California's environmental database called CEDN. And we will take that data from 2009 through 2019, and we will be analyzing that for a status and trends report. So that will be kind of an initial stab at that KHSA data that we'll be working on over the next year. And hopefully it is kind of a primer to what can be a larger water quality assessment data in the future. So I think that's something that we're all looking forward to, is putting that data through an analysis that we can then make better decisions based on what that data tells us. To kind of cover a little bit of what we'll be having today, we have 12 presentations that I'm really excited about. Some great topics, and then at the very end we will have an open discussion. And it's much different than when we all used to meet in a room. There's fewer, obviously, networking opportunities, but we still hope to be able to unmute people and have conversations later today. I want to talk a little bit more in my intro, kind of about the big picture, and then we'll go over some logistics for the meeting and Zoom at the end. So we're here to talk water quality, but often that's a challenging to address when we're struggling so much with water quantity issues. I've been working in the Klamath Basin for the better part of the last 2 decades. And in that time, so much has changed. Now we have, flow and lake level requirements to protect listed species that have really, changed, what is happening with water. We have a big change in terms of water rights, with the Klamath tribes earning senior water rights. And that has had drastic impacts on the level of diversions for agriculture in the basin. There's been kind of an encouragement for ag to use more groundwater, which may be having impacts in the basin as well. And then the refuges in the lower Klamath Bay, or the lower Klamath refuges, have not had access to the same amount of water. So we've had big shifts in what's possible in the basin in terms of the ecosystems. Their ability to support species that aren't listed has, I think, taken a step backwards, which is a real challenge. And we can't ignore the effects on society and our communities in the basin from some of these changes. So we have some big challenges from a water quantity perspective if we're going to be able to solve the water quality issues in the basin. Drought plays a role here, of course. I think, if you go to any watershed across most of the Western US, there's a story about drought and risks. We talk water supply and, dwindling water supplies in reservoirs and storage and snowpack. And there's even talks about later this year in the late summer of, issues where power production at dams across the West might be threatened. So, huge implications that I don't think we were talking about 20 years ago. So we had a pretty dry winter. I think it's an easy way to say it. And while we've had kind of a surprisingly wet, spring, we are still in severe and extreme drought throughout pretty much the entire Klamath watershed. So it's challenging conditions. Part of that is the reality of climate change. We see a slow and steady increase in carbon dioxide levels that we've seen within our lifetimes, but the life of climate and how the system reacts is kind of on a longer time scale. So if we see what we can look at through ice cores and other long-term measurements, we see the slope of greenhouse gas levels just near vertical, and that is a bit scary. Climate change in a big picture, when the Department of Defense defines it as a threat multiplier and something that, if it's an accelerant of instability, that should worry us all. We know by now how it disrupts the water cycle and the changes that has to our communities and our ability to store and use water. And we know it creates more extreme weather events, and the risks associated with that are extremely challenging to all of us. And with that said, we are in a drought in the Klamath Basin. Yet at the same time, Portland and the Pacific Northwest has just been getting constant rain, it seems like, and we've seen the videos and images of what's happening on the Yellowstone River right now with unprecedented flooding. And at the same time, over 100 million Americans right now are under, heat advisories due to a big heat dome across most of the country. So, there's huge challenges right now that are only exacerbated by climate change. Not to harp too much on it, but tipping points are something that I think aren't really widely known by most. These are different elements of our Earth that can impact the climate. So when we have melting ice sheets or melting sea ice, we have things that will greatly impact the status of heat and our ability to the planet's ability to store heat. And these tipping points, when they are reached, they can lead to irreversible changes in that. And these are kind of self-reinforcing feedback loops. So something that once it starts, we may really not be able to turn that switch off. And it's not to say that all of these will cause abrupt changes to the climate or sea level, but they could continue for a very long time without our ability to change things. And the latest science is saying these tipping points could be reached with only a degree or two of warming, which we are entering the lower end of that already. So there's some scary things potentially ahead, depending on how these tipping points react. So, this brings us to really challenging times. The world that, my grandparents and my parents lived in is fundamentally different from where we are today and where we will be soon. Across the planet, we're reaching limits on, kind of our use of natural resources and their availability. And frankly, we're very divided right now in a country and within each of our communities. So it creates very challenging times. Each of, the agencies and organizations that you work for may have, different goals and different missions. A lot of you may be here, to help, with that effort to restore critical habitat or recover species or improve water quality. And I think kind of a common way to think about, our goals and missions, and frankly, addressing kind of the new world with climate change is, how can we improve, the ecosystem function, as well as the resilience, both of, our natural world and our communities to survive in this new climate. So huge challenges ahead. With that, the presentations that we'll see today are really kind of interesting. Often it's going to be a talk that presents water quality data or modeling results. And today we're seeing things, that don't necessarily fit within these, these boxes that are really easy to categorize. Many of the talks today kind of, I feel, come from an adaptive management, lens, where there will be, talks about what monitoring data was collected, or what will be or was modeled, and really taking that information and connecting it to recommendations and, kind of how do we, how do we create restoration projects that are most meaningful and most effective, both at the site level and all the way up to the watershed level. So it's really exciting to see that, being able to take, this information that we've collected and, kind of evaluate it and adjust accordingly. So I'm excited to see kind of that kind of somewhat informal theme across most of the presentations we'll see later today. In general, there's going to be a lot for all of us to learn today. So, keep an open mind and open ears to hear what all the presenters will be talking about, and really, understand, the connections between all these different, all these different projects and the data that's collected and the information that's told. So there will be some great things we can hear, and even if it's something that's somewhat unrelated to your work, there still might be some great things that that will be important for what you do. While there's challenges to building collaborations in this type of a Zoom meeting, I still want you to feel free to reach out to presenters or to other folks who are involved today to to still build those collaborations. As much as we're separate now, we hope to be working together soon, more closely. So got to always stay on the positive side on that end. Over the years, KBMP has developed guidelines for our meetings. These are kind of the kindergarten rules in a sense. Not as many of these are, really as relevant as they are when we're meeting in person. I think, we want to just focus on respecting others as kind of the main takeaway. So through questions and comments, please, kind of follow that first rule. So in terms of Zoom, this is, you're already seeing this is slightly different than a typical Zoom meeting. This is a webinar. This is really going to be focused on the presenter and the presentation. So the attendees are going to be muted and not have video. So that's just where we are. As KBMP has grown through the number of attendees, it becomes more challenging to manage, and so this Zoom webinar platform just allows it to be a little bit easier to run a meeting with more than 100 people in it. In terms of having questions for the presenters, if you have a simple question, the Zoom webinar platform allows you to have a Q&A button where you can type in your question. Sometimes folks will have kind of a longer comment or a longer question, and if that's the case, please use the raise hand button, and then when we're done with the presentation, we can call on you and unmute you so you can ask your question directly. I probably shouldn't call out Clayton and Chauncey as examples, but they have a lot to say, and for good reason. But there's definitely opportunities to hear your voice. If you haven't already, please rename yourself in Zoom. Kind of the name organization is a good format. That's way we know who you are and who attended. And then later today, when we get to our open discussion session, we'll use the hand raise feature to recognize people and unmute them. So we want to have that. Looking forward to that part of the discussion. We really appreciate feedback that we get on how to, make our meetings better. And so, previously we've kind of worked things through an Excel meeting evaluation form, but we will have a Google form this year that hopefully is, a little easier to fill out. Even if you've filled these out before, we really still want to hear from you. So I have a prize I'll give out randomly to someone who fills out the evaluation. So you know my artwork in the background if you've been on my Zoom meetings before. So we'll have something special for one of the folks who submit an evaluation. Some other logistics, if you want to go back and review what you saw today or share it with others, we'll have PDFs and recordings of the presentations available. Some of the speakers are, kind enough to present preliminary data or information that's, not yet ready to be reported. And it's great that they're able to do that via KBMP. But sometimes that means we are not allowed to share that on our website. That's okay. We're just really happy they're able to share it with us, at least live. So we'll get those posted to our KBMP meetings page after the meeting. We will have a morning break, lunch for 30 minutes, and an afternoon break, so plenty of time to get up and stretch. Networking is a bit of a challenge, obviously, in Zoom, but we will have, the chat ability in Zoom to reach out to some of your colleagues, either directly or to the group. And, I think we can all, hope for some sort of a normal by the fall. So looking forward to an in-person meeting once again. So hopefully we can cross our fingers and get there by then. But even though it sounds scary to be in a large room full of people, I'm hoping we'll get back to normal here again soon. We don't have anything special planned, unfortunately, but as most of folks who have been involved in KBMP for any length of time, they know Clayton Krieger from the North Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board. He is referred to sometimes as KBMP's dad. So, I just want to say, a special shout out and thank you to him for, having the vision and, tenacity to get KBMP formed, and to always be challenging us all to think about things in a broader context and in a way where we can work together and cooperate. And so I think we all owe him, and the Klamath River owes him a big gratitude and a big set of thanks. So I'm sure this won't be the last time we're seeing him, but I really hope that, he's able to spend good time, in his retirement with folks he loves. And hopefully we can see him again at a KBMP meeting when he can take off his regional board hat and just be himself. So looking forward to seeing him again soon in person.